In short, Apple is building more iPhones in India and exporting more iPhones in India. In your fundamental analysis, what's the net result for Apple financially?
Yeah, so, when you look at it, I think it is more of a supply chain issue than financial because, frankly speaking, the best supply chain is in China. It's taken about 20 years to build that. So they build it anywhere outside. It's going to be slightly more expensive in the first few years. But frankly speaking, when we saw back in November because of COVID, the iPhone Pro factory shut down, it did have an impact on them financially. That too, plus the ongoing geopolitical tensions between the U.S. and China, it is in the best interest of Apple and Apple shareholders that they diversify the supply chain outside of China to other regions, whether it's Vietnam, India, Mexico, almost everywhere, I would say.
Anurag, what about the end user in India as well? It's not only about supply from there. Is the demand there that they want to satiate to?
Yeah, I think this is one of the most fun things you look at it. If Apple's install base in India is so small compared to the population, which means it is going to be a very big growth market for them over the next decade. They're opening a store next week in India. And, we have looked at some numbers. So if there are about, let's say, 600 million smartphones in India, Apple only plays in that 10% of the market. I mean, they have a very small market share, not even 10%. Their market share is minuscule. Less than 5% of Apple's iPhone revenue comes from India based on our work. And I think this is a big growth opportunity for them in the coming years. And largely because as the middle class in India, becomes richer and is more affluent, they're able to afford a luxury product like Apple. Currently that market is dominated by Android.
We also have reported that local regulations require, components sourced and supply chain sourced within that nation. Apple seems to be kind of rethinking its global strategy right now. When it comes to India, how quick does that ramp in market opportunity come? It seems like this is a long-term project, right? Yeah.
It is going to be a long-term project because, as you can think about it, if 90% of the iPhones are under, let's say, $300, $400, I shouldn't say iPhone, but 90% of the smartphones are under $300. Apple doesn't play in that market, so it can't even tap into it. But it's as that middle class becomes more affluent, they are richer, the per capita income goes up. And I think that's more of a 5 to 10 year trend rather than something that will happen over the next couple of years.